Hi, this is Hannah Adamson. Our group is going to present gender identity today. So we'll be talking about definitions of different forms of gender identity. And so I'm going to turn it over to Brenna with the first slide.
Hi, this is Brenda Custerson, and I'm going to talk about the theories of gender development. So first off, there is behaviorism, which is when it's gender consistent behavior is reinforced by others. Second is cognitive development, which is when identity is determined by cognitive growth in different stages. And these stages are gender identity, gender stability, and gender constancy. Gender identity is the stage when children can identify gender, but their concept of gender relies on external appearance. Gender stability is the stage when children understand that their gender will remain stable over time, but they aren't sure that it won't change if they do activities usually performed by the other gender. And gender constancy is the stage at which children understand that one's gender remains constant despite external changes. The next theory is the gender schema theory, which is when gender concepts are learned from society's norms for each gender. And finally is the gender self-socialization model, which is when gender is defined by each individual. And now we're going to move on to schema, which is going to go on to Tally.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about how schema influences the way that we view gender. So the schema affects it by, it's more than just whether someone is male or female. It contains all the things that an individual connects with gender, such as expected behaviors, abilities, and occupations. So like when people believe that females are more nurturing and they like kids, and people believe that men are better at construction and just stuff like that. And while they used to believe that your beliefs on gender were developed through the stages of cognitive development, Sandra Brim suggested that the gender concepts are learned from one's particular society. So how whatever society that a person is in, however genders are viewed in that society is how they're going to end up acting or viewing their gender roles. So like, for example, in Western cultures, boys are likely to be praised for being strong, but not for being nurturing. But for girls, it's the opposite. They are praised for being nurturing, and their parents get excited when they're playing good with their dolls. But boys, they get excited if they have like a strong arm, because that means they're strong. And then when we try to classify roles as masculine or feminine, we imply that masculinity and femininity are polar opposite. But Bim also believed that individuals can be both masculine and feminine and call on either whenever one is needed. And she called this androgyny, when they can just kind of go back and forth when they need to be assertive or submissive. And research shows that individuals who possess more masculine traits have higher self-esteem and well-being in Western cultures, because in Western cultures, masculine traits are seen as more desirable. So now we're going to move on to the 5 dimensions of gender identity.
Hello, me again. So we are going to go shortly over the 5 dimensions of gender identity. And the first is membership knowledge, which is like knowledge of one's membership in a gender category, like knowing whether you're male or whether you're female. The second one is gender contentedness, which is satisfaction with one's gender. Like if you were to ask a boy, do you like being a boy or do you like being a girl? If you could ask a girl and then they'd be like, yeah, I like it. The third one is felt pressure for gender conformity, which is expectations and experiences from self and others for adhering to gender stereotypes. So basically, like even if they weren't completely like comfortable with their own gender, they basically just conform to stereotypical things, even if they don't want to. Number 4 is gender typicality, which is self-perceived similarity to others of the same gender. And then the 5th one is gender centrality, which is the importance of gender relative to one's other identities.
Okay, I'm going to be going over some terminology for sexual identities. So I'm going to be going over some terminology. So a lesbian is defined as a woman who is attracted to other women. Gay refers to a man who is attracted to other men. Bisexual is someone who is attracted to people of both genders. Transgender is identifying with a gender other than the natal gender that that you're born with. And so transsexual is a person planning to become the other gender, often through hormonal or surgical interventions. So gender nonconformity is also a thing that is not identifying or conforming to gender norms for males or females. So, and you will find these in your classroom, no matter whether it's elementary or middle school or high school. You're going to see these on a daily basis in whatever you teach. So.
Okay, next we're going to be talking about ethnic and racial identity. So a child's racial and ethnic identity consists of their attitudes towards the ethnic and racial groups to which they feel they belong. So that's kind of the definition. Ethnicity refers to a group of people that have a nationality or culture in common, while race tends to refer to physical characteristics such as skin color. So people can be of the same ethnicity, but not necessarily of the same race. And two people can be of the same race, but not necessarily of the same ethnicity. Like an American and a British person, they can both be white, but they're not of the same ethnicity, I think. So steps children take in developing an ethnic and racial identity, there's 5 of them. So they first start identifying people by different races by age 4 or 5. And then next they start self-identifying with the groups to which they belong. And then after that, they start to label the ethnic group that they belong in by 6 to 8. So before they just know that they know which people they belong with, but then they start to understand that there's a name for the people that they belong with. And then next, they start to understand that differences are based on biological features, speech patterns, and lifestyle by 7 to 8. So it's not just that they belong with the people who look like them, but it also consists of speech patterns, lifestyle, culture, things like that. And then the last one is that they develop racial and ethnic constancy, which is the understanding that race and ethnicity remain the same across time and in a different setting. And this happens between ages 8 and 10. And by middle school, they have a good understanding of their ethnic and racial identity usually. So the formation of racial and ethnic identity is affected by society's attitudes towards the group with which you identify. So however society feels towards a certain racial group, which is not always good, not always bad, but however society feels towards that group tends to be how you start to feel about yourself, which is why it's so important to combat racism in society. And then progress toward achieving a clear racial and ethnic identity has been associated with a number of positive outcomes for adolescents, like higher test scores and greater social outcomes. And so it's just overall better when people have a positive, clear view on their racial and ethnic identity.
Hi, so now we're going to talk about moral identity and Piaget's 3 stages of moral development. The first stage is pre-morality, which is before the age of 4, and it's when young children are unable to consider issues in terms of their morality. The second stage is heteronomous morality, and this is the moral thought of children ages 4 through 7, meaning subject to external controls and impositions. This level of moral thought is described as imminent justice, which means that kids in this stage believe that every action has an immediate consequence, and likewise, bad things are always a result of a bad action, which is not always the case. And finally is autonomous morality, which is the third stage reached by age 7 or 8, in which they are aware of the rules and realize that they must adhere to them to maintain their interaction with others, and they become focused on fairness. Next, we are going to talk about Kohlberg's 3 levels of moral judgment with Hannah.
So Kohlberg's 3 levels of moral judgment, they're kind of similar to Piaget's. The first one is pre-conventional moral judgment. This is characteristic of young children. It doesn't have a specific age. It's marked by self-interest and motivation based on rewards and punishments. Like maybe if I do this, if I steal the cookie, I don't get a cookie the next day. Or maybe if I do something bad, I have to be put in the corner in timeout and I can't have fun with friends. So they don't want those negative punishments, but then they want the positive, the rewards. So they want the stickers, they want candy, they want rewards, they want to have that positive feedback. And then there's the conventional moral judgment. This moves beyond the self-interests and focuses on the good of those around. It bases moral decisions on the moral expectations of important people around you, that may be your parents or your teachers. This is where the child may want to, more than anything, to please the parents, more than getting a reward. They just want to please their parents, please their teachers. And then the post-conventional moral judgment. It moves beyond society as a defining factor in what is moral and right. This is when a person believes in the human rights of people, and moral judgments are based on universal principles that apply to everyone. So this concludes our presentation. I'm excited to see y'all in class, and we'll have some fun games for you guys to play in class. So thanks for watching. Bye.